Fleas and ticks, two of my least favorite characters in the great outdoors. And in fact, they're two guys that I don't want in the indoors at all. And this is the kind of place that ticks like to live. You know, fleas and ticks have been associated with disease for a long time. Fleas actually carried bubonic plague, and ticks, of course, carry Lyme disease. Two important things that you need to know about ticks. One is, whenever you're in the great outdoors and around ticks, wear some kind of an insecticide that helps to repel ticks. One that contains a chemical called DEET, DEET. Another thing, these brushy places like this is where ticks like to hide. There's plenty of rodents, rabbits, and mice in here, and they support a tick population. And when you walk through, they go for you too. Oh, look here. I avoid ticks whenever I can, and I wear repellents when I can't. But another thing I do, especially if I've got a severe problem with ticks, is I spray the entire lawn and as far as 10 feet into the woods around the lawn. I contacted my local extension service, and you can too. And they'll send you information on what kind of chemicals that you can use to control ticks or even fleas in your yard. I also contacted my veterinarian. She set me up with a whole variety of chemicals for treating fleas and ticks. I love my dog. I don't want her to have fleas and ticks. I also don't want her to bring them into the house. When it comes to treating our pets, we've got to think about three things. First, we've got to treat the yard. Second, we've got to treat the place where the dog spends the most time, her doghouse. And third, we've got to treat the dog itself. To treat just 2 out of 3 won't get the job done. A flea collar is a fine idea, and it works great. But you've got to keep in mind that fleas need a drink of water, and they get it from the dog's saliva. So if there's a flea back here, it's got to pass the collar to get to the mouth. A tick could spend her whole life down here on her flanks and never get near the collar. So there may be other chemicals that we can use for ticks. But now, let's take a look at her doghouse and what to do about it. Ticks live and breed out in the woods where they find rabbits and mice and deer to breed on until you or your dog come by, and then they come home with you. Fleas, on the other hand, spend their life where the dog lives, here in the dog's bedding. Fleas actually lay their eggs on the dog, but then when the egg hatches, the larval form drops off here in the doghouse or wherever the dog spends a lot of time. Now, I would recommend that you go to your vet if you have a flea problem and treat not only the lawn, not just the dog, but the dog house as well with a chemical approved by your veterinarian. You're going to spray it thoroughly to get the bedding well soaked down, and then you're going to wait 10 to 14 days and spray it again. In the meantime, of course, while the chemical is wet, you're not going to let your dog in there. You might also get a doghouse something like this one that comes apart. So you can actually physically take it apart, wash the whole thing out with soap and water, launder the pet's bedding in very hot water to kill eggs, and then put it all back in there. That works too. Remember, you've got to treat 3 places to get rid of fleas, and always read and follow the directions. You should avoid ticks. You should use repellent. But if you ever do get a tick on you, there's only one good way to get it off, and that's to grasp it firmly and pull it slowly but forcefully directly away from your skin. Twisting it, jerking it to the side, putting a cigarette up against it, coating it with petroleum jelly, none of those things work well. They'll leave mouth parts behind, and that could cause an infection or a hard, itchy bump for several weeks. Now, if you do live in a place where Lyme disease is prevalent, you might want to keep that tick in a little medicine bottle with a single blade of grass and take it to your physician. He can analyze it and find out if it contains the disease-causing organism. Another thing is if you get a bullseye rash around that tick bite, see your doctor immediately. It's much better to be safe in the great outdoors. Come on.